I'm supposed to address this issue from not from the point of view that Chris used this before me, which is the point of view of the government, what the government should do, but from our point of view, actually yours. I'm not an American citizen, so this law is not really generating a personal problem to me. But from the citizens' viewpoint, so what should we do as individuals compared to this law? And the moral debate right now about the HSS mandate has been correctly focused on what is usually called in moral philosophy cooperation in evil. So that's my main point right now, to explain what it means, in this case, cooperation in evil, and what it might involve from you to do. The question is not straightforward, so most of the things I'm going to say leave big room for you to make a decision finally. This is the beauty of morality. I mean, sometimes things are not perfectly clear. I have my opinion, of course, that's what I'm going to give you today, but fortunately, in a sense, I mean, there is some room for a personal conscience to work through this issue. Okay, in order to explain moral cooperation in evil, I need to focus for a moment on what a moral action is, what it means to perform a moral action. And I really love the chains at the beginning, so if I were at the right, level, like a baby, I really should say, I want the chain, I want the chain, I want it. But I don't have it. But the moral action is like a chain, actually. I actually used this example myself before the chain, I promise, made the room. But so it's like walking from one point to another point in order to reach a goal. So I'm here, I want to get here, I want to achieve some goal, and I walk through something that we can call technically means. So it's a means to end structure. And means can be extremely sophisticated. Think of a crime scene in which the design for committing a crime was really complicated, very sophisticated, nuanced, maybe impossible to discover unless you are a CSI person or NCIS, which is my favorite actually. But it might be really difficult. What puts together all these steps, chain steps from the beginning, when I start performing an action to the end, is actually what I want to do, is in me. It's called intention. So my intention is what puts everything together. This is the difference between a moral action and just a physical event. That in the physical event, there is always a very sophisticated chain of events that leads to some particular end result. So the end result might be a lemon. I mean, all the chains from the seed to the tree and all the kind of ecosystem allowing the lemon tree to actually produce the lemon. But there is no intention there. It's like mechanical, let's use this term, even though it's not perfectly accurate. But in the human action, what puts everything together is the intention. The intention is the key concept for understanding moral action. So when we have even a very long chain of means leading to one goal, there are maybe other people that might actually help reaching the goal in several ways. So this is what we call cooperating with the action. So usually we should cooperate with good actions in many ways, and usually we cooperate with a bunch of actions in our lives. Let's use an example to see how we can cooperate with an action. Let's see that you want to go to Venice in a kind of love trip with your spouse, or actually with the lover, with this woman or this man, according to who you are. I use Venice, by the way, because Americans are not very They don't know much about Italy. Otherwise, I would definitely use Sicily, because today they were asking me if Sicily is worth going to. Actually, it is. I will use Taormina. If you really want your lover to a good trip, just go to Taormina in Sicily. And if Taormina is booked, just send me an email and I'll give you more information about other places. So, but let's use Venice, because in the collective imaginary, it's more attractive for a kind of love trip. So arranging this kind of trip might be complicated. I might need to figure how to take some days off my job, or what kind of flight is better to use, or how to rent a car, to book the hotel, everything you might imagine for this trip. Let's say that I want to go to this trip with this woman, but she's not my wife. So actually what I really want to do is to cheat on my wife with this woman. So, okay, the trip at this point is actually means to an end. The end I have in mind is cheating on my wife. So parts of my design is actually how to have my wife not realize what I'm doing. So I might tell her that I'm gonna go to a business trip, that I'm gonna be so busy with some kind of meetings that most of the times I'll not be able to use my phone. I might tell my people in my office, I make them aware of what I'm doing, and they will, if my wife calls them, they will say that yes, I'm on a business trip and I'm not really available, and I can figure out other ways to do this. So the end here is actually cheating. So this would be the way to explain what kind of action I'm actually doing. All the means, in a sense, are not that relevant compared to the end. Let's say that I don't have money to go to Venice right now. So I need some money. My best shot is to ask this friend of mine to give me enough money for it, and maybe I give the money back in about 1 year or something like that. So, and this is a very good friend of mine. So if I ask money for something, he will definitely give me money for it. So I go to him and tell him, okay, look, I really need a loan. Can you loan me $5,000 or something like that? He's a good guy, so he will say, yes, here is the money. He's cooperating somehow, because actually it's an essential cooperation with my action, because without money there is no Venice, no cheating on my wife in this case. So, but he doesn't really know anything about what I'm doing. So he's not part of my evil action in any way. So he might be such a good friend, he wouldn't even ask why I need money. He will just trust me and give me money for it, for whatever I need to do. Or I might do something different. I might go to this friend of mine, tell him, you know what, I really want to cheat on my wife. This beautiful woman I met, I want to do something fancy and nice with her, so that I convince her actually to do that. So I was planning on going to Venice. So I make him part what I'm doing. And then I tell him, I need this money. I don't have money right now. I give money back to you in about a year. I mean, maybe monthly. Well, at that point, it's different, right? I mean, if I'm this friend of his and I give money for it, I'm actually knowing what he's doing, and I'm giving him the means to do it. Money is, in most of the cases in our lives, money is key. Without money, we cannot do anything. We cannot restore the cathedral. That's a good cooperation in a good action, right? Giving money for it. But money is really essential. Without money, there is no action. So let's say that I'm the friend, and I tell him, I don't agree with you. I mean, you have a great wife. This is a wrong choice. You shouldn't do that. But, if you want the money, here it is. So in a sense, I'm not cooperating with his intention. I'm not sharing his intention, because there are different ways to cooperate with the action. I can actually share the intention. I tell him, oh, this is a great thing. Okay, here is the money. Just if you go to Venice, this is a great restaurant. Just go to this restaurant too. And and take some pictures. I want to see this woman. She's really beautiful? Okay, whatever. Okay, that would be a formal cooperation in evil, sharing the intention of the agent, the evil agent. But I might just disagree with the intention and just telling him that I don't agree, but giving him the money. So what kind of cooperation is this? Formal cooperation is actually not only sharing with the intention, but also providing a necessary means, a direct means to the goal, knowing exactly what it is about. So giving money in this case is not just material. It's not like I'm a cleaning person in an abortion clinic. A cleaning person is not doing something which is a necessary step to the goal. So in a sense, that's a material cooperation. Of course, we don't want to work in an abortion clinic, right? I mean, it's not, it doesn't, if I'm just the cleaning person, maybe I clean the hall, not even the room where abortions are performed. But that's material cooperation because somehow I'm part of the whole thing, but I'm not actually doing anything compared to the evil action. So, but still, I need some reasons for doing that. Why should I even go to an abortion clinic? So usually traditional moral teaching about material cooperation is that even material cooperation needs some serious reason for doing that. So I need definitely not to participate directly in the action, but I also need a serious reason. Maybe I cannot get a better job anywhere else. I need to provide money for my family. So I need a serious reason. I need to show that I disagree with what's going on in that place. So people should know, if I'm the cleaning person in an abortion clinic, people, especially my friends, should know that I definitely am against abortion. They should even know that if I had another possibility, I would work somewhere else. And maybe I'm trying to find a different job. And they should know that I'm not doing anything to directly participate in anything like an abortion. I need a serious reason anyway. But in the friend giving the money, knowing what the money is for, that's different. That's a direct participation in the action. So, and I'm doing that even though somehow by words I don't agree. But do I really? I mean, sometimes when I actually provide for a direct, if I'm the nurse actually helping the physician, that's different. I mean, how can I say that I really disagree with what's going on if I'm actually giving him the tools constantly to perform the abortion? So somehow that's a material cooperation too. And the nurse might say that she doesn't agree with the abortion, but still she's actually performing the abortion with the physician, even though she does it not, she's not the person killing the baby. So material cooperation is tricky because sometimes it's actually formal, it's not material. But when I'm actually doing something directly part of the chain, a necessary means, knowing what the chain is about, I'm actually cooperating formally too. That's why when this famous encyclical by John Paul II, The Gospel of Life, right, in English. Okay, usually I don't read these documents in English, so when this document clarifies what formal cooperation is, it frames it this way. Such cooperation occurs when an action, either by its very nature or by the form it takes in a concrete situation, can be defined as a direct participation in an act against, in this case is about abortion, innocent human life, or a sharing in the immoral intention of the person committing it. So there are two instances here of formal cooperation in evil, which are either being a direct participation in the action or sharing the intention. So it's not just about sharing the intention, because some people sometimes think that formal cooperation is when I actually want the same thing. It's not just that. Formal cooperation is also when I provide a direct participation in the action, which is essential to the action. So the encyclical is very strong about this. Says that Christians, like all people of goodwill, are called upon grave obligation of conscience not to cooperate formally in practices which, even if permitted by civil legislation, are contrary to God's law. Indeed, from the moral standpoint, it's never licit to cooperate formally in evil. This cooperation can never be justified either by invoking respect for the freedom of others or by appealing to the fact that civil law permits it or requires it. So here, the fact that there is a law doesn't mean that it can be legitimate to cooperate formally in evil. So actually sometimes we know that perfectly moral people should actually be ready to sacrifice themselves, maybe even going through very serious damages, even personal damages, like the first Christians in Rome, to do actually what is right. Law cannot ask them to do something which is immoral. So let's try to get deeper into this law, because this is not really about, as I see it, it's not really first of all about being part of the contraception action or the abortion action. It's not like we should focus first on that kind of chain. You know, my employee going with this money, with the insurance money, to perform an abortion or to buy contraception or performing sterilization, whatever. It's actually about law asking me to do something. Because here the weirdest thing about this law is that it's not just asking money from citizens, what usually government does. When we pay taxes, everybody in the whole world, we actually don't participate in one specific action of the government. We give money to the government, to the state. Then the state will decide what to do with this money. If the government will do something really evil to the point that the government itself is actually evil, there might be a moment for a revolution. It's not about one specific law. It's the whole government. So traditional unjust law theory teaches that when there is a bad law, a law that doesn't deserve to be abided by, I should actually figure if my challenge to this law might even damage seriously, might create a bigger damage to the whole system, which is overall good. So if not abiding by this law damages an overall system which is good, I should actually, as bad as it is, should respect this law, but making it clear that it's a bad law, but I should actually care about the whole system first. But usually I don't support the specific law when I pay taxes. So when I pay taxes, I just give this overall money to the state, and the government doesn't tell me, usually, give me this money for this very reason. So in this case, the weirdest thing is just, it's like the government wants to promote abortion and contraception, sterilization, but instead of just increasing taxes and doing whatever it wants to do, it wants me to be part of it. It wants you to be part of it. It tells you, I'm so arrogant that I want to let you know that I promote abortion, and I want you to give me money precisely for this thing. So that's what I'm making you. It's like the friend going to Venice, telling his friend, I'm not just asking you money for going to cheat on my wife. I want to force you to give me this money. Here it's not just about formal cooperation in evil, it's actually about violence and unjust law theory. Here there is a law which does makes clear what the end is. It makes clear that wants to promote some kind of values that for people like me would be these values, the contrary of good values, but it wants me to be part of it. It wants me to, I need this money for it, and you have to provide this money for it. So here the problem is, when is it morally permissible for me to abide by an unjust law? So this is technically an unjust law theory problem. So, and the traditional unjust law theory about unjust laws, the theory that the church has always been offering to his faithful, is that I can do that under some conditions. First of all, that what I do is not directly participation in evil action. So it cannot be a cooperation in evil in any way. And second, I should make it clear that I disagree. I mean, all these things should be very clear. I should actually try to change the system, and I should have grave reasons to do that. So I need really a serious reason for doing that. So a serious reason might even be that I go out of business if I don't do that. Even though in this case, I guess it's just a question of getting some kind of tickets. I mean, I pay more, but it's not like I'm going totally out of business. But this evaluation is not for me. I mean, this is something that businessmen and other people should do about this mandate. I can't think of an analogical situation in which these requirements have been developed better because of the frequency of these things, unfortunately, in the modern world after the sexual revolution. So the church has been giving very detailed indication to spouses about the case in which one of the spouses wants to use contraception, the other one might be in a situation of being forced by the spouse to be part of a sexual intercourse in which the other one is using contraception. So is this morally possible, or should I just avoid doing that? So it is possible under the same conditions we were mentioning about the unjust law, when the action of cooperating, because it is a cooperation, is not already immoral. It's not directly immoral. So I cannot use contraception. I cannot help the other one using contraception. Whatever device the other one wants to use, it should be a device that doesn't involve me doing anything about it. What I should do is just what I would do naturally in a sexual intercourse, nothing else. So I cannot do it if it involves me to be part of the contraception action by the other spouse. I need a proportionally grave reason to do that anyway. So maybe the situation that the other spouse is generating is such that it would endanger the entire marriage and having bad effects on the children and everything. So it should be grave. It's not like he will be upset for a few days. That's not a grave reason, right? And I need to make clear that this is bad. I need to help actually my spouse to understand that this is very bad, and he or she shouldn't do that. And he or she should know that for me this is more like a violence. I don't want to do that, so I'm doing it because of the kind of big damage that you might create if I don't do that. So let's go back to this case. I think that the key issue here is actually about the state making it clear what this money is for. It's actually making it specific. So the government is actually, I think it's very arrogant. And since laws change our beliefs, because laws are moral facts in our lives. So laws allowing divorce, for example, will make divorce more like a natural thing to the community. So I think that Obama himself is hoping that even the Catholic Church will change its ideas about these issues. I think that this is clear from the fact that at the beginning, correct me if I'm wrong, Frank, afterward, but I think that at the beginning he thought that to just give 1 year time to religious institutions to organize things so that they will abide by the mandate eventually. So then they allowed for an exception, but at first they thought in 1 year they will just think that this is fine. So this is the way, even if there were no supernatural reasons for it, but 2,000-year institution being changed in 1 year by Obama, right? This is arrogance, I mean, anyway. But also I think that they know how much laws change culture. So if people don't challenge these laws seriously, I think they are they are not being serious about who they are and what they should do. So I think that the serious reason here would be really almost impossible to find. But the key point is that here I know, like the guy who, the friend of the guy who wants to go to Venice, I know exactly what this money they want me to give one way or another is for. And I know that money is everything. I mean, this law creates a budget. I don't know about the United States Constitution, but in Italy, a law that doesn't indicate the budget for the law, the money necessary to make this law exist, would be against the Constitution. So according to the Constitution, every law needs to make clear where the money for the law is from. So money is a necessary step for everything. So in this case, the money that is a necessary step for this mandate is actually required by specific individuals who run companies. So at that point, I know exactly what this money is for. It's not general taxation. And I have an unjust law requiring me to do that. So what is my attitude? Well, my attitude is that this is bad. This is one of the cases in which the law should be challenged. So I think that these two things match. I mean, in this case, we have a formal cooperation. Even if I'm against abortion or contraception or sterilization under those circumstances, I'm actually giving this money for it. I know exactly that this money is going one way or another to it. And the problem is not that I'm not cooperating directly with the possible action my employee might perform. It's not that. I'm actually cooperating with the evil action by the government. I mean, that's what I'm cooperating with, which is actually the action of promoting abortion this way in the States, in the United States. But then I also have the unjust law theory, which tells me that here, when there is an evil action involved, I'm not supposed to abide by it. So even though I might have serious reasons for it, I should actually challenge it. So this is pretty much the way, as far as I'm concerned, to frame the issue. So to be fair, I mean, there are other scholars, good Catholic scholars, who thinks that there is a way to frame this as a material cooperation, not direct cooperation, and so somehow there are, with serious reasons not to have the company going out of business, it might be actually morally permissible to abide by the mandate. Well, my opinion is that there is no way to frame it this way, but still, I mean, the situation may be more nuanced, maybe according to some specific laws in each state in the United States. But I think that generally speaking, this would be a way to frame the issue and taking seriously the responsibilities, especially to show that the government that the government cannot do whatever it wants. And we know that this society is already going the wrong way because not many people challenge public actions in moral issues. So who knows where we are going if we just close our eyes in this other case. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Are there any questions? There's one in the back there.
Yeah, Doctor, thank you. My question is with regard to, I think what you're saying is we're providing the money, and that's a direct means for the government. However, the way the government set up the law is that you're going to provide the money either way. Right? They're either going to collect it in a fine, or if you refuse, or they're going to collect it through from the insurance company. You know, claiming in this modified exemption that you won't have to pay. But it seems to me that so the fact that they're collecting the money either way, does that not affect the moral problem?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I don't have a strong voice, so microphone is better. Well, the way it works, as far as I understand, is that if I want to provide health insurance myself to my employees, at that point I need to provide this service too. If I don't want to, my employees might have to pay a little more with the insurance, other insurance companies, but I might get some. I might have to pay some penalties, but I'm not part of it. So the big difference here is a moral difference about me. That's why my perspective in moral philosophy is about the individual. What am I doing? So what's the difference? I mean, this is actually a question that is asked all the time in moral issues. Probably the toughest cases are about surgical operations. I have this friend of mine, actually a very good physician in Palermo, who was asked to operate on these twin babies. They were born attached. I don't know what the English term would be for it, right? When two babies actually share some organs, so they're attached. So there was no way to operate the separation without actually killing one of the two. But it was not a direct killing. I mean, it was not indirect killing. I mean, the procedure was actually to kill one of them to save the other. So this person is very good Catholic physician. He refused. He was attacked by all newspapers nationally for a while. And a colleague of his attacked him a lot, and he actually performed the operation. Both ladies died. I mean, that was a very hard operation in the first place. And I mean, the percentage of success was probably not existent. But the challenge was this one. I mean, if you don't do anything, they will die anyway. So what's the difference? I mean, the difference is that I'm not doing anything. I mean, I'm not killing, right? So the difference here is a moral difference. Whatever, even if the government wants to, if you want to go to Venice, just go to Venice. Just don't bother me with it. I mean, that's the difference. I'm not part of it. I don't want to be part of it. And this is a huge stand, because I make clear my principles, my morality, what I believe in. So I might have a good effect on this friend of mine. In this case, I might have a strong effect on the entire society and culture and the future president of the United States. Because of, I mean, of course, with laws especially, if we challenge laws, that's very good reason to change them. I mean, if the community challenges laws, if they don't want to abide by laws, usually this means that they are bad laws. I mean, common good requires laws that people would abide by. So this is the difference. I hope I am addressing the question the right way. If I'm not, please just ask me for more details. But I think it's a moral difference.
Well, okay, I have a follow-up to that then. So the follow-up would be, so if we then agree that it would be moral evil to cooperate with the law, then we're also under restricted freedom, right? The government is applying pressure in the form of a fine. So what would that say about our culpability? Would we then say, well, we have less culpability for our participation in evil, right? Because
Sure. I mean, there is a very important distinction between objective morality and subjective morality. Subjective doesn't mean here anything about relativism. It's actually a good Catholic Christian distinction. Objective morality is identifying one action as good or bad, and in some ways good, in some ways bad. I mean, when I focus on the action, for example, I say abortion is bad. So I say abortion is evil. I can say abortion is really evil. So I was reading before the lecture today, rereading the canon law point about formal cooperation in abortion. I don't know if you remember that, but formal cooperation in abortion involves also the excommunication, late sententia, so it's automatically excommunicating people who formally cooperate with abortion. So it's very bad. But then when I look at the one person who performed an abortion or formally cooperated with an abortion, for example, in this example of abortion, I need to figure exactly why and how that happened compared to his interior world. And this is called subjective morality, the morality about the subject, the agent. So in some cases we know, especially priests, in confession they know more about these things than anybody, that people might be very little responsible for something, even something really bad, because they were under some kind of violence, they were confused, they didn't really know what they were doing. These things can lower the responsibility. So, but that doesn't mean that the action becomes good, of course, but the action might become not that bad for the people who is under certain circumstances. So here I'm not saying that the action of, paying for these insurance policies is like performing an abortion. I'm not saying anything like that. It might be actually a small thing. What I want to say is actually compared to the system and to the law, might be actually a huge deal for at least those of you in this room who feel the responsibility for the overall way in which culture and the government is shaping future morality and our moral culture. That moral culture that leads many people to perform bad actions. They will live unhappy lives because they are. When there is always this joke. Unfortunately, you know that, so you cannot do that, right? Since you know that it's bad, at that point you cannot do that. So it's like morality being a frustration, right? If I didn't know that premarital sex were bad, I would be great. Great, I can do that, and I'm not. I'm not in any way responsible for it, because subjective responsibility is about being aware of something. But actually, that's not really the case. Morality is actually damaging. Immoral actions are actually damaging the person. So when we perform immoral actions, we are actually bad. We turn into worse people. So morality makes us better people, freer to do good and happier. So knowing these things and being consistent with morality, especially when being consistent might require some kind of heroism, makes us great people, greater and better people. So I would say that in these cases, businessmen are called to be heroes. And I think we really need to be more heroes these years, in which sometimes it seems like being Catholic doesn't mean anything. I wish sometimes I lived in the first 2 centuries of Christianity, where being Christian meant possibly dying in the Colosseum, right, in Rome. We knew it was a big deal. So when I say, I'm Catholic, well, that means I might die tomorrow because of this. Today sometimes being Catholic doesn't mean much. That's already an evil. But in this case, I hope it would mean more.
Check it.